One thing that may seem very obvious, but is actually very important and part of your continuing education after the course, is to become an expert in the indicators that you choose, right? You might have a small universe of indicators that you're really trading on a lot and really know that deeply. Really, it's a really good idea to do that, to really know those indicators inside and out, really identify with those particular indicators that are in your main toolbox as far as trading, hug them, love them, really understand to them. And be wary too, if and don't listen to others who say like, well, that's not the best indicator, you should use this. You can see, like in the course where I talk about that all indicators are good, and maybe in certain situations some are better than others, or certain time frames or whatever it might be, and those are all contained in the indicator or tool lessons. But if you're seeing somebody come out strong on something, just be wary that maybe it's working for them, or the way that they trade, or the time frame they trade, or the types of securities they trade. It might work for them, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work well for you. So you want to be an expert in indicators that work for you. And even with that let's say primary indicator, that is your primary one that you love and you really know it well, always good to have a confirming indicator, something different to help confirm it too. So you're kind of an expert maybe in more than one type of indicator. Also, some indicators you can reflect how frequently you trade. For example, some might be more obvious, or some might be a better type of choice there in terms of ones that reflect how you want to trade, but also what you might want to be learning at as far as becoming an expert in an indicator. Let's look at a couple of examples of that to kind of reinforce that. So as you remember from the lesson on gaps, we have breakaway gaps, pullbacks, runaway gaps. We have all sorts of good stuff in the gap lesson. And some people just trade just on gaps. Now, the thing with trading on gaps is gaps are rare. So that would equal less trading. So if you want to be a more frequent trader, or really trade a more narrow, a smaller group of, let's say, securities, as opposed to a larger group, you might not see the opportunities as much to actually do trading. Though when you do see them, they're great opportunities. Just that the gaps by their nature are rare. And as you add more candlestick patterns, for example, then that might equal some more trading opportunities. So maybe I really trade gaps, and that's what I am, but I might look at 1 or 2 or 3 candlestick patterns that I really know inside and out real well. And so if I see a rising window, or I see something, then I know how I want to act. For example, here, do you see these candlestick patterns? Do you remember which ones are which? It's okay, you don't have to remember the names. You just kind of have to understand the concept at this point as far as what's happening with them, with whether they're trending up or trending down, or there might be a change in the trend. We'll put the labels on here. We've got the hammer, the hanging man, and the harami. Remember, harami was the pregnant one. So as you learn those, that's where you're going to be more of an expert and really see these happening, let's say on your chart, if you chose to be an expert on candlestick trading, candlestick patterns. And you would see, for example, more candlestick patterns would be more common than, let's say, than gaps. But just understand that might impact how much you're trading. Another thing that can impact how frequently you're trading is the types of security can impact the frequency of trading. Example, things like Bollinger Bands, which is a volatility indicator. The more volatile your security, the more trading opportunities there are, because there's that always going up and down, going up and walking up a band, walking down a band, all that stuff. And that's why things like Bollinger Bands are popular with securities such as technology stocks, and cryptocurrency is popular with those. Same with Fibonacci, are popular because of the volatility. It gives them more opportunities for trading than if something is not volatile at all, a utility stock possibly, or something like that. It's not going to have as many times or maybe as long a length as far as walking up the band, versus something like you're seeing an example here, as far as something more volatile, where there's lots of opportunities to trade on that. So understand that if you like, I like this one type of trading indicator or tool, sometimes that can impact how much you frequently want to trade. Now, if you're not a very active trader, you trade maybe once a week or once a month or whatever it might be, Bollinger Bands might be perfect. And if you're volatile, looking at volatile securities, they're great, they're terrific. But if I'm trading, something that's a more less volatile securities, and I'm only looking at a small number of those, and I'm looking, once or twice a month, maybe for an opportunity, because that's the amount of time I have, you might not see as many opportunities, where you might see more opportunities with, again, something like a chart pattern or a candlestick pattern, something that's more common.